Hey everyone, Jay here. As always, I'm here to offer you some recommendations for ways in which we might adapt our CrossFit linchpin workouts for kids. We're going to take a look at the iconic benchmark and hero WOD Amanda. We've got 7, 9, 5, ring muscle ups and squat snatch. So we've got two really high complex movements here. So when we're thinking about how we're going to adapt that, we're going to think about some of the stimuluses that these movements offer and how they might replicate some of the movements that are most appropriate and the ones we want to see for children. And also what's going to stimulate them the most, what's going to give them the most amount of fun during the session. I'm going to go through what this might look like in a class session and offer you some ways in which you might adapt it for different abilities or age appropriateness. So I'm going to start off with a general warm-up. I'm going to call it traffic lights. You might have 3 cones or 3 items that are red, yellow and green. For every time the red cone's held up, the children need to hold any balance of some sort, or it could be a dictated balance. You could say balance on one leg, or it could be balance with 2 parts of your body in contact with the floor, or it's balance with 3 parts of your body in contact with the floor. It's up to you. For a yellow cone, it's going to be a static movement. So it'd be a squat, a push-up, it could be a press, it could be any one of those, any movement that you could perform in a static. It could even be a burpee, mountain climbers, any movement that it requires them to stay in one place. And then for the green, it's going to be a movement around the zone. So it could be rolls, it could be bear crawls, any animal walk, it could be running, skipping, hopping, a movement that requires them to move from one place to another, any traveling movement. And then you're going to keep moving through, holding up different cones, possibly calling out different movements, depending on how you want to set that up. It could be that you keep 3 movements for really young children. So it could be that they're going to hold a balance on one leg every time you hold the red cone up. It could be that they're going to squat every time you hold the yellow cone up. It could be that green just means running for the really young children. For your older children, it might be that you start giving them a sequence to remember. The first red could be a plank, second red could be balance on one leg, and they've got to try and remember the order. Depends on who you're working with, how you want to set that up. For our specific skills, because we're going to have hang power cleans, bar hanging progressions in our workout, those are going to be the skills that we're going to work on. So we're going to give the children some time to do some bar hangs. There'll be a video showing you different progressions that you could work through. Some ways that you could do that, you could do it as a competition. So how long can you guys hold the bar again for yourself? So a sort of PB, PR on one of the progressions. How many rotations could you do? How many traverses could you do? Or it could be that they're competing against one of their peers. Can you beat your peer? Can you hold it for longer than your peer? So some bar wars games. And then we're going to work on the hang power clean. I'm going to show you 3 different variations of the hang power clean. I'm going to show you unloaded. I'm going to show you hang power clean with a light ball, and then a dumbbell hang power clean. Now, depending on where your children are at, will be the option that you choose to use. For the workout, we're going to have an AMRAP for quality. So remember, our quality is quality of movement, quality of focus, and the amount of enjoyment the children are having. It's got to stop before they stop having fun. That's more so with the game, but also in the workout. If they're clearly not enjoying it, we need to change something. So 5 hang power cleans of the variation which is most appropriate for the children you're working with. 5 bar hanging progressions. Again, it's the progression that children are most appropriate for the children you're working with, and the space and the equipment that you have. And then we're going to do a high box over. Now I'm going to have a video showing you a high box over, and that's going to replicate that muscle up movement. So jumping up, pressing themselves out, and then climbing over the box. So I have a video showing you that as well. For our game, we're going to have a game called Continuous Rock, Paper, Scissors. I'm going to show you how that sets up. So you're going to set your playing area into thirds. You're going to start everyone in pairs in the middle section. So you can see I've got an X and an O, and that's one pair. And I've got an X and an O in black, that's another pair. Everyone starts in this middle zone. This middle zone is also going to be our movement zone. So the children are going to play rock, paper, scissors in their space. They're going to have a partner. The loser comes into the loser zone. But before they do that, they're going to complete a given movement in that movement zone. So if they lose, it could be they've got to perform 5 burpees. After they've performed the 5 burpees, they're going to move into the loser zone, and then they're going to pair up with somebody else that lost their initial game. They will then play again. Okay, so once they've played again, the winner will travel down to the winner zone, and he'll find somebody else who's won a game. And the loser will come back into the movement zone, complete a movement, and then move back into the loser zone to find somebody else to play again, and that game will continue. As you can see, the X and the O here have travelled down because they've won the game. They will play against each other here. The winner of that game would stay in the winner's zone and find another person that's won a game. The person that has lost the game is going to travel through the movement zone, perform the movement that they need to perform, and then travel to the loser zone, find another person to play with, and then the game continues as such. Remember, stop the game before the fun ends. So it's at that peak moment of the children having fun, that's when the game ends, and you should hear that sort of collective, oh, just one more round. That's what we want to hear from the game. That we know we've got them then, we know that they're in it. And then to finish off, we're going to bring the children in, and we're going to talk about the points of performance of the hang power clean. Some of those things that they need to remember. Have fun with this and experimenting with how this might work with the group that you're working with. Thanks very much. So as with all of our movements, our hang power clean is going to start unloaded. They're going to have feet shoulder width apart. So you're going to line their feet up with their thumbs on their shoulders. And then we're going to instruct to dip, shrug, drop, stand. Okay, those are the cues that we're going to use. And it'll be hands on their legs, on their thighs, dip, shrug, drop, stand. Okay. Cues will remain even when using an implement. So just the extra cue that I've given here is to my son is to keep the ball really close to your body, almost slide it up the front. Okay. One thing we worked on is getting his elbows a little further, pointing a bit further forwards, so a better front rack position to replicate that front squat there. You'll see that on the second or third clean now. There we go, elbows much further in front. Now we're going to use a ball before we use dumbbells because it's only one implement, so it's less complex. Once the children are ready and have had a lot of exposure of unloaded and with a ball, it's appropriate to start using some dumbbells. We use dumbbells before we use a bar because we don't want them to have to worry about the bar path. Everything the same, dip, shrug, drop, stand. Just for our high box over, just something that's going to replicate sort of that muscle up action. Where they sort of have to sort of jump up, press out, climb over something. Very much like climbing over a wall. So with our bar hanging progressions, we're going to get our children to have a full grip on the bar, so thumbs around the bar. They're going to hang in a nice straight body position, feet together, and they're going to have active shoulders. And that's going to be the progression for all of our hanging progressions. Active shoulder means a suspended shrug. There's a gap between their ears and their shoulders. So our first progression after a bar hang would be hand releases, as just shown. Then moving on, they're going to do some traverses along the bar, side to side traverse. Keeping their legs as straight and as possible beneath them, making sure they have a full grip on the bar. Following on from the traverse is going to be monkey hang. So they're going to release and grab. A little tip here is probably a little easier to have your hands slightly inside, shoulder width apart, to stop the excessive swing from side to side. And then moving on from our monkey hangs or our hip taps, we're going to have round the worlds. So rotating right around, re-grabbing the bar and trying to do that in both directions if possible.